Right, so I'm just gonna like run down and review five films I saw during the past like week or so, being sort of holed up here in this apartment of mine by choice. So these films came out this year or last year, at least as far as I know. So I'm just gonna like go down the list. First one is Wicked. It's based off that Broadway musical, and it's sort of like a prequel and a seemingly like a retelling of the Wizard of Oz classic story. It focuses on the history of the Witch of the West. Was that the sort of antagonist in the Wizard of Oz film? I forget. But basically, this was a musical, and I do enjoy good musicals. Um, so going into this one, I knew not much about it, just that the Broadway show Wicked that it is based off of was very critically well received and just popular among people. So this Wicked film was great. I was really surprised by it. The production value, the best thing I love about it is the camera work. And because it's a musical, it's able to obviously utilize music more for more impactful emotional moments. And you have, where to put the focus on during, yeah, those emotional moments. And yeah, just the 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 sort of, how to say, collaboration, but like the perfect mix of camera work and music in Wicked was just, I haven't seen anything like that in a long time. And just off the top of my head right now, I can't think of a film where music has been just so well matched with what's on the screen. And the choreography is pretty good too. Um, so that's Wicked. And again, like all these films, I obviously recommend them. I'm going to talk about films like I basically just enjoyed. I'm not gonna like rate them or whatever. Anyway, so next up, Captain America: Brave New World. So this is kind of the weakest of the films. I mean, because it is sort of like a mainstream MCU comic book movie film. And anyone who knows the Marvel Cinematic Universe knows that those films are becoming a bit sort of the same-ish, and the whole interconnectivity of all the movies, makes each individual movie not as like self-contained or its own like story. So it's not like a full sort of traditional cinematic experience when you watch one of these movies. Captain America: Brave New World is I think one of the better ones to come out of the MCU, and I would say years. I mean, there is a lot of obvious references, like when it comes to stuff that's obviously going to be important, whether in past MCU movies or in future ones. Um, off the top of my head, there is a big like reference for something that's going to be a big deal in the MCU going on like towards multiple movies into the future. And then there's also a huge reference to a big MCU event that happened in the past. Um, and I think both those elements in this movie were utilized very, very well into the storytelling of the plot of this movie. So even though it is a pretty typical MCU film, I would say it's a bit more consistent with what MCU films have been recently in the last few years. And if you're sort of an MCU fan like me, particularly the Phase 4 films, which have kind of been inconsistent and like kind of all over the place compared to the sort of more consistent tones and storytelling of the movies in the first three phases of the MCU. But this one, Brave New World, I think is one of the better ones. So that means it is not a perfect film. I do not recommend it if you don't like superheroes or comic book adaptation films. Don't watch it. This is probably one of the more like, just if you're into that, you try it out. Well, kind of same with Wicked. If you don't like musicals, you probably won't like Wicked. But yeah, actually, no, that's true. If you don't like musicals, you won't like Wicked. Wicked, the film I just talked about before, this one, Brave New World, is just a straight up musical, but it's like just fine. One more thing about Wicked, it's like the best musical in terms of like going extending like the premise of what it is to like the fullest extent and full out fantasy with full out like CGI, computer effects, music, characters, and just like colors, and it just does it all so well. All right, so that was Wicked. Post Captain America: Brave New World. Next up is a Better Man. This was like a really small film that I just discovered a few days ago, and it took me a couple days because I was just doing other stuff. This is a music biopic, so it's based off of Robbie Williams, I believe. Yeah, and I'm just gonna spoil the premise, which is basically it sounds like a one-note joke, like for the whole film, which I think is only an hour and a half, so it's not too long of a film. But the filmmakers of Better Man decided to make the main character based off Robbie Williams, who is a artist, performing artist, singer from England or UK. I don't know. They decided to make the character physically look like an ape. So, and the plot starts when he is a kid, and all the way until Robbie Williams. I don't know. He's older. And he's a more established musician. And when it comes to like the specific features of this film compared to other musical biopics, I think, and I've seen a few. Like there's that Elton John one, Rocket Man, that came a while ago. That Freddie Mercury one from Queen, and uh, yeah. So I'm just thinking of musical biopics, not dramas based on musicians right now. But Better Man is definitely one of the best I've ever seen because of the way it utilizes songs which are from Robbie Williams, songs I've heard about, but didn't even know they were from him, um, were featured, of course. Um, but the songs are more seamlessly um, uh, integrated into the biopic. So this is, oh, by the way, also a musical. So when his songs are playing, and he's performing and singing, and other actors and dancers around him are doing the same. You know, Compared to other biopics, musical biopics, this one is more the dancing is almost like more CGI, more flashy, more bizarre, out there, and creative, but at the same time more seamlessly integrated into like just the normal plot, that the non-musical aspects of the film. And I think this one was on a budget compared to other biopics I've seen, because even though this one has a lot of CGI, especially having the main character being ape, look like an ape, for the whole film. It seemed like it was a pretty streamlined, simple, almost independent feel type of film. Um, so yeah, the musical numbers were well integrated into the plot, and because of that independent indie feel type of vibe that the film had, for its whole runtime, the story was easy to follow. The characters are easy to follow. And of course, the sort of usual morals and lessons that biopics have. It, Lessons about falsely sort of or like how do I say it, wrongly glamorizing like fame, what it does to people. Um, but this film has a happier, more human ending than I thought it would have. So even though the film is a bit pessimistic and narcissistic at times, because you see these famous people, engage in like sort of bad behavior, but at the end, it kind of humanizes them in a really sweet kind of way. It's a little manipulative, but it's fine for me just because this is such a refreshing musical biopic in the way, in the style, and again, like when I say humanizing, and not like making these characters seem more than they are, like definitely exposing their flaws and limitations and weaknesses and all that. Um, when it comes to the main character, of course, Robbie Williams, it does have a focus on his parents, for the whole film, and that's sort of the human foundation center, the human connection, main relationship he has that's been consistent. That does define a lot of the decisions he makes. So, yeah, I'd say on a human level, the musical numbers and the smallness, like the scope of the film story is pretty small, so it is easy to follow. One of the best musical biopics and most creative, again, like I've seen in a long time. All right, The Order. Oh, I just saw The Order today. Okay, so um, The Order is one of is probably the more mainstream crime drama American film. It came out this year, I believe, or last year. I don't know. Um, it's just about an FBI, like a federal agent of the U.S. going to a small town in America and dealing with localized, local law enforcement as this FBI, this federal agent tries to stop the actions and behaviors of sort of local terrorist, or not terrorist, but yeah, terrorist dangerous organization, an organization that's sort of been like killing people, robbing people, you know, setting up setting up bombs and you know killing people that way too. Um, there's nothing like really groundbreaking about this film, but it's more like an old fashioned type of yeah, crime drama, American Western. With of course, and that comes with the beautiful landscape and scenery with like mountains, lakes, forests. Since it does take place in a small town, and interesting to see the culture behind like these sort of local dangerous organizations that are kind of kept out of the public eye, even in the U.S. And this one I didn't know until like as the story was going, and especially at the end of the movie when they did reveal like where the characters were like after the events of the film, that this film was based on a true story. So that was interesting, entertaining and enlightening. So boom, like great stuff right there. So that was called The Order. Last film is called Kill. So yeah, this is like the more like it's a very violent film. Definitely not quite family friendly. But I do notice like a lot of the a lot of people, like young kids. I feel like I don't know. I feel like younger people, like compared to me at least, when I first watched movies in my life, like I think the first true horror film, like the scary, if I remember, the scariest film I've ever watched that left an impact on me. The first one was Jurassic Park. Like those raptors, like in the kitchen. I remember like when I was young, I would be scared there to be like raptors hiding in closets around the corner or something like that in my house. Crazy stuff like that. Anyway, over that for the most part, I think. So Kill though, yeah, is a very interesting sort of revenge crime thriller. So a lot of I've tried to talk about this film without spoiling it. The best part about this film, without spoiling it, is that it's not really spoiling it, but it's almost like in two parts. It's like the first part of the film, maybe like a third, not quite a half, but like the first third is like you, the movie starts, stuff happens, the plot kicks in, you're like, okay, interesting, like yeah, this is fine, it's good. And then like after a third, like the real movie kicks in, and the last two thirds is more in line with the title of the film, which is Kill. The premise of this movie is that what do you call it? A train um, has been is being sort of taken over or hijacked. I don't know, by a big group of like thieves, robbers, um, and on the train as well are soldiers, and the main character who have some sort of ex like I don't know if he's an ex like not secret service, but like a higher level than like a normal like officer. Maybe like the I don't know what this film is Indian, so like I do watch with subtitles. Like I guess India's equivalent of the Navy or Special Marines or something like that. But when it comes to like close quarters action, because this movie does take place just like on this train, um, in terms of movies with very clear intentions and motivations from the people who are involved in the physical conflict and the action that's taking place. This film is also one of the best ones I've seen in a while. Some people have compared it to John Wick. For those who are more familiar with Western, more popular like global films, I do like this one better than John Wick. That's not to say I don't like John Wick. Like for example, also from India, I believe it. Yeah, in India, I think it was. It's a film called Monkey Man. I think it starred Dev Patel. I have to check that again. That film came out last year, and people compared that one to John Wick as well. And I don't know if these movies like this one, Kill or Monkey Man, were how to say it, like they probably partly inspired by John Wick. Who knows? Maybe because in a way, art is like always going to be a reflection or a copy of like something that's happened before life. uh, or the human experience. But regardless, yeah, John John Wick, to give it credit, definitely has like started or at least normalized or at least you know brought to like the mainstream. I would say like films about vengeance, about really personal connections with things that are lost. Very simple stories, easy to follow. But compared to John Wick, I guess I don't know. Kill is a more like a streamlined, easy to follow story, and more of the events that do affect the characters and their decision making happen like within the film. Like there aren't, as far as I know, yeah, like no flashbacks in the movie. Oh, just a few, but they're not that like important. They may not even be flashbacks. They might actually just be wait, plot points that actually happen in real time before the train sequence, which is most of the film. So I do recommend Kill. Like if you're into like very hardcore action, sort of revenge movies. Um, and this is a film where like there aren't like clear sort of evil or good. I mean, there kind of is a line. We have a protagonist and antagonist, and they kind of have their sides and the people on their sides. But you know, it's one of those movies where yeah, you see how good men can turn to monsters, and sometimes bad men, you know, have more humanizing qualities than we think. You know, so it kind of plays a little bit of stereotypes. But yeah, this film is a bit more is kind of mainstream in that sense. You know, uh, good man wronged and has to take vengeance against these guys who did him wrong. It doesn't really start like that. So, real quick, the first third of this movie, Kill, is it's like a different movie than like the final two thirds, which is sort of the real movie, and that's kind of the cool part. And if I'm gonna say one spoiler, I don't even know if I should say it. I'll just say it. Between that first third and the last two thirds, that's when the title card drops. Like the word kill is put on the screen. And I've seen some film reactions online because like once that title card drops, like when I first saw it, it was it shouldn't feel like this, but it felt so new and refreshing. Because I've never, I don't remember seeing something like that in a movie before, where it's like again like the first third there's this kind of introduction movie, and then the title card drops like almost halfway into the movie, and then like kind of the real like sort of meat of the story kind of takes place. No, not like that, but like kind of like what people are there to see, you know, what viewers are kind of looking for, you know. Admittedly, kind of like why I was wanting to watch the movie too. So again, yeah, that is my reviews on Wicked, Captain America: Brave New World, Better Man, Order, and Kill. Oh, we're at 18 minutes. You know, I'm just gonna add one more film. I forgot about this one. This is a totally different type of film called Presence. Presence came out whether this year or last year, I don't know. And it's a sort of not horror, but a ghost story. And 99% of the film only takes place within like a house in like the suburbs, and the story revolves around the protagonist, who is a ghost, who we never see. Um, it's not much of a spoiler, but because this is the whole movie. So, and basically, the movie is about how the ghost, yeah, is living in a house. Family moves in, but the ghost is not really haunting them. The ghost is more observing them. Is more sort of manipulating what happens in the house in order for them to do what the ghost wants. But it's not very malicious. Many times, if not all the time, it's like quite the opposite. The ghost is trying to help them because this family actually has ties to the reason why the ghost dies. So it does. It kind of turns into a mystery because at first we don't really know what's going on. Why is this ghost in this house? Why is it interested in this family that's moving in? The cool sort of camera work aspect of this film is that the view of the camera, like us viewers while watching the movie, is for the most part, I think the whole thing, from the point of view of the ghost. So the movie is just like the camera person kind of just wandering the house and observing like the daughter, the son, the mother and the father, and the few people who come in, like guests or friends who come in and out of the house. So it's a very interesting sort of I would say like I don't know, like way to film a film. Like I don't think I've seen something like that. Like where the ghost, where the camera is from the ghost perspective, and the ghost, of course, doesn't really say anything. It'll do some things, but it doesn't. There are no words coming out of it. So it's really unique in that sense. And yeah, the film does actually have a plot, and I thought, and it ended for me surprisingly much more emotional and satisfying, and a bit more action oriented than I thought it would. And the I also did not expect the film to bring up interesting sort of social, like from my perspective, socioeconomical, sort of political, like societal norms that are not like accepted or challenged in the film, but like put on film in a way I've never seen them put on film before, and really observed and analyzed. Because having the perspective from the ghost really makes like what us viewers are viewing like much more casual, less, I don't know, structured, more like there's more freedom when it comes to like observing what the family does, in the house. I just don't want to spoil it. That's why I'm just rambling on about different parts, aspects of the film. So that one's called Presence, and it is directed from Steven Soderbergh, who's a pretty popular American director known to direct different types of like genres. He does have a specific style, like visual style, like most directors kind of do. But he's known for doing different genres. This is his first one to the ghost or paranormal drama type of film, and 'cause most of his films are like he's done like a crime heist, action, psychological thriller, um, like a crime period piece from the 60s or 70s or something like that. I don't know. But this is his first, I believe, like one with supernatural elements. And I think he does doing it from such a unique perspective, like from the ghost perspective, is so interesting. And I want to see where the film went, and I was happy with it. So, all right, 6 films at 23 minutes. Take it easy, y'all. Peace.